We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
All right, this is Matt. Matt lives in Australia. Now, I will say that if he's... I don't know what it's like where he lives, but all the houses that I was in Australia, they were all plaster walls. So, I don't know. That's something to consider. Anyway, so we'll be moving to a new house at the end of the year, and we'll be turning one of the rooms into a theater. He will be making some minor changes, such as knocking down and building walls. And he is doing... I'm sorry, I lost my... I just got a thing.
An alert.
Thing? I got an alert.
I don't know.
Knocking down walls, and he's doing the work himself. He's a licensed electrician. This room is 16 by 13 by 8. And I hope that's feet, because...
I believe so.
Because of his meters, which is usually what they go by
8-meter ceiling seems highly unlikely. So.
Seems unlikely, but you know. Anyways, thank you for converting it for us there. Anyways, the seats will be 14 feet from the screen. All right.
Yeah.
What's the ideal height to install the surround speakers? Well... How high is your couch? Start there. So, because that's kind of where you go from. And from my experience in Australia, a lot of the furniture is lower there than it is in the States. So, the ideal height is about 2 feet above ear level.
The tweeters. You
can go higher.
Yeah.
Tweeters.
The real probably doesn't help you by giving any sort of number answer is high enough that the tweeters of the surround speaker have a clear line of sight to all the listeners. That's how high you want it, because I don't know.
It's about 2 feet.
Maybe you normally, but maybe you normally have like 2 people sitting beside you or something on one side of you. Like, what you want is a clear line of sight from the tweeter of any surround speaker to any of the listeners in the room. So yeah, in general, it'll be 1.5 to 2 feet above seated ear level. But yeah, it does depend on what your seated ear level is.
Oh, that's right, and that's right. So and a little bit back.
Just
you don't have to
bit,
have them a little bit back.
This
is a little bit back. Mine are a little bit more than a little bit back. But that's okay. I can live with that. He asked, will a 100-inch screen be suitable for the room size and seating distance? Now, Rob's going to come at you with a whole bunch of numbers.
Yes.
I'm going to come at you with the same thing I always say, Matt, and that's this. I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know what you like. A lot of people like a lot of different things. I like a screen a little bit bigger than Rob does, and there's people on this that ask questions on this podcast, and will today ask questions on this podcast, where they like it much bigger than even I like it. So the way you know how you like it is go to your favorite movie theater, find the seat where it seems the right size for you, that this is the size you'd like to have in your home theater. Go to sit in that row, watch your movie or whatever. If you really want to do this right, then I guess you could do it in a movie that nobody else is watching, so you do it actually during the movie. But I don't necessarily recommend that. Then, find your seat and then pace up towards the screen. Make sure you take even steps, even though you're going downstairs probably. Pace up towards the screen. Count that number of steps. Then, go from one side of the screen to the other. To walk from one side of the same size steps, and that'll give you a ratio. So when you're going to be 14 feet, just say you are, I don't know, 20 feet back, and you like, and the screen was 100. I'm not 20 feet, but 20 paces back, and the screen was 100 across.
That's a huge screen.
That seems unlikely, but maybe it's
let's say 25 feet across or something.
25 feet across. So that will tell you what you what your ratio is. Then you look for a screen that not the diagonal measurement, but the bottom measurement matches.
Width. Yeah, I mean, in Matt's case, he already has a projector, so wherever you are, Matt, you could just do this with your projector, just throw it up on whatever screen you already have, or just a wall, and get it to the size that you like from the distance that you are, and get that
measure
ratio.
That bad boy.
Yeah.
Just get a tape measure.
Yeah, if you can do 14 feet, that's great. Now, I'm questioning a little bit why I mean, it seems like he's planned it out, but when the room is only 16 feet long, I'm not exactly sure why he's 14 feet all the way from the back of the screen. I don't know if you have any wiggle room to get any closer, because what I will say is, if you are 14 feet away, the 100-inch diagonal screen gives you a 29-degree field of view. Now, that's totally reasonable for HD TV. To me, that's a little on the small side for movies, right? Now, if you were to keep, because I think he says he already owns the 100-inch screen, right? So if you already own the 100-inch screen, but you want to get a larger field of view, I would say like a 40-degree field of view is pretty nice because you can get that from 10 feet away. So if you're 10 feet away from your 100-inch screen, that will give you a 40-degree field of view. Now, 10 feet into a 16-foot long room works pretty nicely. You know, it gives you a little bit about 6 feet behind you, 10 feet in front of you. So that all works nicely. So if you have the wiggle room to move like that, I think that's okay. I'll just say that to get the same 40-degree field of view from 14 feet away, you'd need a 140-inch screen or a screen that's 122 inches in width from left to right. And to get to what I think is a really nice number, which is a 45-degree field of view from 14 feet away, you'd need a 160-inch screen or one that's 139 inches wide. That's large. That's a big screen, and possibly too large for the light output capability of your projector. So this is just to keep in mind. If you're able to move your seat closer, I actually think that's the more reasonable thing to do here.
Or you can move your screen closer to the seat as well.
That's true.
You can pull your screen into the wall, into the room, and even if it's a fixed screen, you can still hang it from the ceiling.
That's right.
There's no reason to. I mean, they're not that heavy, so you don't need like a huge, scaffolding system up there.
Yeah.
Now, he'll be upgrading to Atmos and DTS-X in the future. He's thinking 5.2.4 and would like to pre-run cables in the walls and ceiling. So what are the ideal locations for the in-ceiling speakers? Now, I think he's thinking 5.2.4 because he is going to be only 2 feet off the back wall.
That's right. And if that's the case, then putting surround back speakers right behind your head might be distracting.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's right.
But if you move your seats into the room, so they're 10 feet away from the front wall, you can now go 7.2.2 or 7.2.4.
Yeah, sure.
That gives you a lot more options there. Now, if there's if you can't do that, don't think that we're in any way telling you that you're doing it wrong. These are the limitations of people's rooms.
That's right.
So, if you can pull the seats into the room so that you get the screen to be bigger, you can put surround backs behind you. And as we've discussed before on this podcast, as one of our listeners, put in air quotes, informed us that there is, actual channel information that goes into surround backs that will have to be mixed into other things, but maybe not the Atmos speakers. So, you could use a 7.2.2, 7.2.4. If you go 7, I think in this room, how 16 feet?
16
usually,
feet, yeah.
Do we think like front heights or top fronts and top middles? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah,
I really like the middles.
Yeah, if you did top middles, which would be directly overhead or just a little bit behind you, because they can be as much as 100 degrees from, if your straight ahead level is 0 degrees, then it could be 90 degrees or 100 degrees would be fine for top middles. Then you would have to select front heights as your other pair. That's just the way that the setup menus allow. But the sort of answer is you want the speakers, like if you're doing the traditional top front, top rear, right, which is like the sort of baseline Dolby Atmos recommendation, you'd want them somewhere in the range of 3.5 to 5 feet in front of you. So take wherever you are and measure 3.5 to 5 feet in front of you on the ceiling. That would be your top front. 3.5 to 5 feet behind you would be your top rear. That would be the normal thing. Now, if he is sitting 14 feet away from the screen and he only has 2 feet behind him, you can't do 3.5 to 5 feet behind you because you only have 2 feet. So it would make much more sense to call those top middles and have them maybe just a little bit behind you, maybe just a foot behind you, because that's about all you have. That would be a top middle position. Then you could still have the other speakers in front of you, and there I would put them in the range of 5 to 8 feet in front of you. You've got 14 feet ahead of you, so there's plenty of room to do 5 to 8 feet in front of you, and you would call them front heights. You would actually have the correct angles. Don't worry about that. They would be labeled as front heights, and the ones that are directly overhead or just a little behind you would be labeled as top middles. If that's what you're doing, I would put them there. If you're moving closer to the 10 feet mark, so you'd have 6 feet behind you, 10 feet in front of you, then it makes more sense to go 3.5 to 5 feet in front of you, 3.5 to 5 feet behind you, and call them top fronts and top rears.
Yeah, that would be a 5.2.4 setup.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna go with 7.2.2, then I would go with the top middles with surround.
Yeah,
backs.
which will be directly overhead no matter what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. He already has plans for an additional subwoofer and a new receiver in the future. Looking at his equipment list, which is listed here. Do we recommend anything else you should consider adding or replacing? So he's already going to do the receiver, so we don't talk about that. Speakers, he's got B&Ws pretty much everywhere. His subwoofer is an SVS. Yay. His projector is a Sony VPL HW40ES. He says
Very
based
nice.
on a recommendation. And he's got a silver ticket screen, the 100-inch screen, which
Right.
is probably why he wants to stick with that, which is also based on recommendation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like the way the B&W sound, I'd say that I don't see anything here I really want to change. I mean, I'd spend any money that you're going to spend on changing stuff on room treatments and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's nothing in that equipment list that I have any beef with whatsoever. If you like those speakers, they're perfectly good speakers, so I have zero problem with that. B&W does make in-ceiling speakers if you want to do that for your in-ceilings, so no issues there. It's a very nice projector. You already have that 100-inch screen, and we talked about if you're going to replace anything, if you're sticking with that 14-foot viewing distance, then maybe you'll want to upgrade to a larger screen. But other than that, I think this plan is good, and anything you're going to spend, I agree with Tom, go for acoustic treatments.
Yeah, or nice chairs, or both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
I think that's good.
All right. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.